designing and stocking new products. Something that we've learned the hard way over the last 3 years is that supporting a growing physical goods business is shockingly expensive. Let's use LTTstore.com as an example. Our gross margins are somewhere in the 60 to 70% range. But that doesn't mean that every time we sell a $30 water bottle, we make $20. Out of that gross margin comes business overhead, like storage and handling fees, employee salaries and benefits, rent, insurance, consumables, customer support, shrink, platform fees. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but the point is that our net profit, what remains before we pay the tax man, is in the 30% neighborhood. I'm not complaining. That's a healthy business, which is kind of a confusing message. How can LTT Store be both profitable and expensive to support? What sinks a fledgling company, more often than not, is a lack of cash flow, not a lack of profit margin. Let's open up this computer and talk about how this applies to Framework's business. I ordered the DIY edition, so just add your own Wi-Fi, SSD, RAM, and operating system. They charge $1,049 for the mid-tier Core i7 model that I chose, and if we wanted to know the actual cost of all of this, or the bill of materials, we would need to add up every single little capacitor and wire. Tedious. Thankfully, we can take some shortcuts. The bulk goes to Intel, who lists the CPU in this unit at $426 in quantities of 1,000. Most of the major cost contributors, like the battery, keyboard, trackpad, screen, and cooler, we can approximate based on the street prices of similar replacement parts. And for the motherboard, AnandTech did a wonderful write-up back in 2009 that we're just gonna borrow. Let's say 120 bucks. That puts us at $770. And we haven't accounted for the chassis or any of the other odds and ends yet. But it's also common knowledge that Intel never charges OEMs list price for their CPUs, so I'm gonna say that the cost of this finished package is somewhere in the neighborhood of $800. That's certainly a lot less than $1,049, so good business plan. Here we go, right? Hold on. The first run of, let's say, 1,000 units of this thing will easily cost north of $1 million once we factor in production setup costs like tooling and molds. Much of that, or sometimes all of it, needs to be paid up front. Let's be optimistic though and say that on top of fronting the R&D to design this thing, the founder happens to have $1 million in the bank, and that order takes just 8 weeks to get through production and reach Framework's warehouse. Now, we make another assumption that demand is strong and all 1,000 units sell out in 2 weeks with a cool $250,000 of gross profit. Damn, that's a lot of money, sort of. Remember all that pesky business overhead? We gotta deal with that now, leaving half if we're lucky. 100 grand profit is certainly better than a kick in the teeth, but if you want to grow your sales, well, you need to take all of that profit and put it back into your second order, which is gonna give you a little over 1,100 units. You'll get them 8 weeks from now if you are insanely lucky, and in the meantime, you have absolutely nothing to sell and no money in the bank to pay your staff while they twiddle their thumbs waiting for the next shipment. So even if my numbers are way off and Framework is netting twice that, let's say $200 a unit on this bare bones, the best case scenario for them after a year of utterly flawless execution is $3 million in cash. That's enough to increase their bi-monthly order from just 1,000 to 3,000 units, but they still wouldn't have enough to meet customer demand and keep orders flowing smoothly from the factory. And they wouldn't have saved a penny to reinvest in facilities, equipment, or R&D. Their competitors would bring new products to market, slowing demand for this now out-of-date design, and unless they adapt, they will eventually have nothing but a warehouse full of laptops that nobody wants and an empty bank account. GG. Now, let's do it again, but with a big bucket of borrowed cash at 8% interest compounding monthly. In this scenario, Framework now gets to place 4 separate $1 million orders, spaced 2 weeks apart, right out of the gate. After 8 weeks, they start to get these orders in, generating both the cash that they need to restock them and a cool $200,000 in profit every time an order sells through. A year into this scenario, assuming 0 sales growth, which is very unlikely, Framework has now paid $330,000 in interest, which sucks, but they also low-key shipped 26,000 laptops and made over $4 million net. Party time, right? not quite. Remember that $4 million loan? Whoever lent them that money needs something in return, or they're gonna start looking for some legs to break. Framework could pay it back, but that would completely wipe them out. So they make a deal. How about instead of the money, we give you guys a chunk of this company, and then we can just keep using that money to expand our product portfolio the same way we did last time. We eventually grow so big that we go public, and you can sell that portion of the company that you bought on the open market for way more than you paid. Or you can just keep it forever if it suits you. Maybe you just like the stock. Well, now, instead of a loan, it's an investment. And if all goes according to plan, Framework grows faster, so more customers get super cool laptops, and the investors get paid back their original money and then some. Everybody wins. By the way, I need to invest in some RAM and an SSD. I bought the bare bones. One moment, please. Conveniently, Framework includes the only tool that you'll need to assemble the device, but I'm sure iFixit's not too upset about it because these guys are 100% on the same team. And you'll need one of these for almost any other laptop. It's refreshing not to be treated like I can't be trusted with my own hardware. And you know what? There's going to be costs associated with that because people will break them and they will complain. But it's worth it to have more open devices available for consumers. And what's cool is for repair shops, they have even committed to providing the schematics of the boards if they want to do board level repair, which is super awesome. The labels in each slot indicate that it supports up to 32 gig modules, but rather than go all the way to the limits, I've actually just gone with two 8 gig 3200 megahertz modules from Crucial. And for storage, it supports up to a single PCI Express Gen 4 M.2 2280 SSD. I decided not to go Gen 4 though, because I'm more concerned with good enough performance and excellent battery life, so I went with the SK Hynix Gold P31 SSD. Now, at this point in the video, we've nailed down that Framework clearly needs money so they can build more of these things, but I haven't explained why they need mine. And the truth is, they don't. They actually closed the bulk of this funding round back in Q2, and one of the other investors was already in line to take the remainder. They could have accepted that offer, but they didn't. Instead, both Framework and I decided to take a leap of faith, and I call it that because both of us are taking some big risks here. Here are their risks in no particular order. I could bring my own ego into internal discussions and try to have an outsized influence on their direction as a company. Compounding that risk, I could take my disagreements public, or worse, suffer some kind of catastrophic fall from grace, Zheng Shuang style.
you.